You give Chad a few caution flags and get the old magic wand out and wave it over that baby, and they'll be up at the front like they are now.
How about that second place car, Krista?
Well, you guys just mentioned the longer run, and that is exactly what the 17 is planning for. Back on that pit stop on lap 89, Matt said, I need more front grip, and I need it for the longer run.
Well, remember in our FedEx Understanding the Race, we see an average of a longest green run around 65 laps. We've not been there yet, but we normally see a cycle of green flag pit stops here in this race.
Scott Speed trying to hang on to a top 15 spot here, but he's going backwards after not making a pit stop and picking up the lead on this last caution flag.
But he's done a really good job, Mike. I mean, he's sitting there and he's not really creating a problem. He's staying on the bottom of the racetrack. Kids learned a lot over the last year.
Carl Edwards, David Rudeman coming up on him. Speed hanging on to 12th place. Darrell, the only way you're going to get experience running up front is get your car out front, and that's what they did for him.
Well, I like the gambles they've been taking to get him up there, to give him some of that experience. Man, you smell the lead and what it feels like to be in front of all these other cars. You'll work hard to get it back.
You know, one thing I'm seeing, guys, and I think it's because a little bit of a cloud covering, just shortly after that last restart, we're seeing some of our fastest laps of the race. In fact, Jimmy Johnson, a lap ago, just ran his fastest lap, and I think the track, as they reported a while ago, is just getting some grip a little bit because of the cloud covering.
So we started in bright sunlight, and there's more of that to come. But right now, the entire track is shaded. Closing in on halfway in the Shelby American at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, presented by Pennzoil, is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
The Busch brothers, Kurt and Kyle, began their careers racing Legends cars, or dwarf cars, at the Bull Ring here at Las Vegas. Right now, Kyle on the right is in 5th place. Kurt started on the pole but got caught up in somebody else's crash, and he is 3 laps down in 36th. Jeff Gordon is your leader, but Jimmy Johnson is closing. He's cut that lead down to half a second with Matt Kenseth 3rd, Jeff Burton and Kevin Harvick.
Been watching Dale Jr. just a little bit, Larry, Mike, and he really he's been running a really high line, and he's been making good time just in the last few laps. I think he must be experimenting a little bit. He was right on the back bumper of the 9 car, and then he decided to try it on the bottom a lap or two, and it's cost him a little track position here. But heard some really positive comments out of Dale Jr. Here just on his radio. Steve, what did you hear?
Yeah, DW, they had a great run at Daytona, then had that axle problem last week. They're right outside the top 10 now, but Dale Jr. is very optimistic with how they're running today.
Just considering by these first laps, we definitely have improved the team quite a bit. We're pretty close. We've still got a little ways to go, but I'm real happy with how it's going today. I can see right now, you know, we just got this other level we need to hit. We keep trying to work to find it. We're working at it, bud. Guarantee it.
A good run so far for Earnhardt, who started 4th and currently sits in 11th. Lance McGrew, interim crew chief last year, now permanent crew chief for Dale Jr. And it looks as if this pairing and the commonality they have with Mark Martin's team is paying dividends for the 88.
Well, they finished 2nd in the Daytona 500. They were off a little bit last week at Auto Club Speedway. I said all along, you know, these first few races at a lot of different racetracks, that'll be the better measuring stick for how you stack up than the Daytona 500.
Now, since we went to break, the 18 has fallen out of the top 5. Kyle Busch, Jeff Burton up to 4th, Kevin Harvick up into the top 5, and you see the gap continues to shrink between Jimmy Johnson and the leader, Jeff Gordon. Here's what Jimmy said after the restart.
You can't slow down the field like that, man. I don't know what the hell I was supposed to do there. But don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. Clearly, I need to vent a little.
You know what? This is not unusual for this 48 group right here. When Jimmy's down, Chad is the cheerleader. When Chad's down, Jimmy's the cheerleader. It seems like one of them's always working to cheer the other one on.
I think he was talking about Scott Speed bringing that field down for the start. Remember, Speed did not pit. Wasn't carrying quite as much speed as some of the other drivers who've led this race.
I think there too, it's just a little bit out of character for Jimmy Johnson to be complaining about anything. Normally he just lets Chad do all the talking and he just does all the work. But notice Jimmy's had a couple of, I won't say negative things to say today, but you know, not a typical Jimmy Johnson day. And that was Rick Hendrick we saw there in the pit. Good to see him back at the track.
But you're right, Darrell. I mean, we got the reports he was complaining about that car the minute the green flag dropped.
The gap has now stabilized at just about 0.6 of a second. Gordon to Johnson, with Matt Kenseth 3 back, Jeff Burton 4.5 back, and Kevin Harvick 6 back. As you see the intervals, and that's a dynamic interval with each driver. You can see were they gaining or losing time to the leader.
I think we've said this about this car, and the thing about it is this car is, maybe you're not great, but you're as good as, you're the best car out there.
Let's have a look at speeds as they cross the line. When this track was reconfigured and the banking increased, business picked up, and so did the speeds here in Las Vegas.
It's like one lap the 48's a little faster, the next lap the 24. They've kind of stabilized right there. But you see Jeff Burton in that 31 car, plus his teammate Kevin Harvick. They're the ones that's in the same miles per hour category as the 24 and the 48 right now.
Mike, before they reconfigured the racetrack, it wasn't a lot of fun. It was flat, and it laid out here in the hot desert sun. It was slick all the time, and it was really hard to race here. But with this new banking and the progressive banking that they put in the track, it's really a lot of fun to not only drive but to watch.
Jeff Gordon leading his teammate Jimmy Johnson in the Shelby American at Las Vegas. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is presented by new Pennzoil Ultra with hyper-cleansing technology.
Carroll Shelby was a great international road racer. There's the original GT350 behind Carroll, who is still modifying cars for Ford Motor Company and selling them under his name. He's the co-grand marshal for today's race, which bears his name. Here's our Pennzoil Ultra race summary. We're just past halfway, and Jeff Gordon has led most of the race, slowed by 6 caution flags, including a 3-car pileup that involved Jamie McMurray, put pole sitter Kurt Busch 3 laps down, and sent Juan Pablo Montoya to the garage. So Jeff Gordon now leads teammate Jimmy Johnson by that same half a second, with Jeff Burton 4.5 back, and Matt Kenseth not quite 5 seconds back. Krista?
Well, the 17 crew jumped up on the wall. Matt Kenseth thought he had a loose wheel on the right side. They just made a 2-tire change last time. Todd Parrott said it might be the right rear. They were going to come in, and as he went by, he said, I don't know, is it okay? They're still trying to figure out. The crew is still on the wall, helmets on. They are ready to stop if needed.
Well, and we're still a good 15 to 18 laps away from what would be green flag pit stops. I'm sure Todd Parrott really wants to make sure that that would be the problem before he hits pit road.
Here's Kenseth dropping down and coming off the banking and coming in under green early. Krista.
Yeah, this is absolutely what they did not want. One of the leading race cars, they just made a 2-tire stop on the last one in. You see him working on the right side, that potential loose wheel. That's what Matt was afraid of. He thought it was the right front. Todd Parrott saying it was potentially the right rear. They're changing the left side tires as well. Matt Kenseth is down and away.
Kenseth was in 3rd place. He loses a lap on the racetrack to race leader Jeff Gordon.
So what they're going to do is hold their breath here for about 15 laps, hoping it cycles through. But the problem, when all of those guys make their green flag pit stops, we're down to a 1-stop race.
Got a little bit of a battle for the lead here shaping up. 48 car is now caught the 24 of Jeff Gordon. 48 looks like he's a little bit better right now, and he's able to get off the corner a little better than Jeff.
Brian Vickers.
Unless there's somebody in his way.
Yeah, that would be Brian Vickers, who goes a lap down to the leader. Now Johnson scoots past.